For so many years, as men, we've been told size doesn't matter. Well, today we're going to explore this idea in the context of farming. We're going to think about nobody's farm fails when it's small, but it fails when it grows, like other things. The hardest part about farming isn't starting. The hard part is often what happens when things start working, when customers show up, when market days get bigger, when you need more beds, more hands, more of everything. That's when the foundation cracks and things begin to crumble. And often these aren't farming problems. They're the same problems that take down restaurants, retail chains, and billion-dollar companies. Today, we're talking about 6 things that break when you scale. Not farming theory, business reality. And every one of them is avoidable if you see it coming. I'm Diego, Diego. Welcome to Modern Grower. Let's go. In the restaurant world, there's one rule that every owner learns the hard way. Labor should not exceed 30% of revenue. Go over that line consistently and the business bleeds out, slowly enough that you don't notice until it's too late. Farms don't really talk about that number, but the math is the same. You're busy, you're selling more, you hire somebody, then you hire somebody else. And each time it feels justified. You have the work, you have the sales, you need somebody because there's more work than you can handle. Here's what nobody calculates. The cost of an employee isn't just their wage. It's the time you spend training them. It's the tasks that take them twice as long as you. It's the mistakes that they could make while they're learning. And it's management overhead of having another person to coordinate. In a restaurant, a great line cook will cost you under $20 an hour, but they'll generate $50 an hour in revenue. The math works. A bad hire costs you that same $20, but generates complaints, waste, and rework that costs you more than if you could have done it yourself. The farm version is identical. If you hire someone to harvest and they ruin half your lettuce, you didn't save labor. You lost product. The fix isn't don't hire. The fix is don't hire until you can prove that that person generates more value than they cost, including the cost of your attention. There's a famous book out there that argues that most small businesses fail because the person who started them is great at the work, but terrible at running the business. Now, I've seen this anecdotally throughout my work career. Early on, right out of college, I worked for some companies where the person who owned the company and founded the company was great at what they did. But when they scaled, when it came time for them to run the company, they really struggled. And it was visibly obvious. You could tell. You could see this at many levels. For example, on a local level, you might have a baker, someone who's great at making bread, but they're terrible at running a business, a mechanic who opens a shop because he can fix anything, or maybe, I don't know, a farmer who starts a farm because they had a garden and they love growing food. Growing food and running a farm business are 2 completely different skills. Let that set in. One requires agronomy, timing, physical endurance. The other requires accounting, marketing, employee management, logistics, and the ability to make decisions with incomplete information at 7 in the morning when your phone is buzzing with customer orders. Not skills you pick up in the garden. When you're small, you can be both. It's hard, it's stressful, but you can be both. You're the grower and the CEO and the delivery driver and the bookkeeper and the janitor. It works because the volume is low enough that one brain can hold it all and manage it all. Well, hopefully. The moment you start to scale up, those roles start to split. They become too big for just one person to do, so you have to choose. Am I the best employee on this farm, or am I the person who makes sure this farm works even when I'm not in the field? Most farmers, and I think a lot of small business owners, including this one, often choose to be the best employee because that's the identity that you started with. It feels comfortable, it feels familiar, it's where our passion is. And that's exactly how you end up working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks while your business stalls out. The farmer who scales successfully is the one who learns to manage, even though managing is fun than growing. In the tech world, there's a concept called technical debt. It means every shortcut you take now, the code you didn't clean up, the system you patched instead of rebuilding, the thing that you said, we'll fix it later. All that accumulates interest. And eventually, it all comes due, often at once, usually the worst time possible. Farms have the same thing. I'll call it infrastructure debt. You skip an irrigation upgrade because you're busy planting. You don't build the second cooler because the first one is fine for now. You put off a grading project because harvest is in 2 weeks. Then one season, everything comes due at the same time. You need the cooler capacity that you didn't build, the drainage that you didn't fix, floods after a heavy rain, the hoop house you've been meaning to repair, loses its plastic in a windstorm. And now you're in emergency infrastructure work in the middle of your busiest sales month. It's a recipe for stress. It's a recipe for disaster. The principle is simple here. Every season you defer maintenance, you're borrowing against next season's time and money. The longer you wait, the higher the interest rate. If you've drank coffee in the last couple weeks, odds are you bought it from our favorite brand, Starbucks. And the crazy thing is, Starbucks almost died back in 2008. Hard to believe that was 20 years ago. Not because the coffee got worse, because they grew too fast. Howard Schultz had come back as CEO and said publicly, "We lost the soul of our company because we were chasing expansion." They had opened so many stores so quickly that the quality collapsed. Baristas weren't trained properly. The burnt smell of cheese from their breakfast sandwiches was overpowering the smell of coffee that you want to smell when you walk into a coffee shop. The experiences that made Starbucks special had been diluted by sheer volume. Now let's scale that lesson down to a half-acre farm that just added another half acre. They double. When you double your growing space, you don't double your problems. Don't worry, you get a lot more. You multiply problems. It goes exponential. More beds means more crop plants, more succession timing, more harvest schedule, more wash and pack, more deliveries, more invoices, more things to fix, and more things to forget. Every new variable interacts with every other variable. 2 crops, 2 markets, 2 employees, maybe manageable. 10 crops, 4 markets, 5 employees, that's not 5 times harder. It's often 50 times more complex. Starbucks survived because Howard Schultz closed 600 stores and simplified his operation. He pulled breakfast sandwiches at the time, he retrained baristas, and he went back to basics. I've done the same thing with my business. We scaled up, took on labor, took on inventory complexity, and it created a lot of problems. I've since pulled back and reset, and things feel a lot more manageable, at least for me. Most farms could be in this same boat. You don't have 600 stores to close like Starbucks, but you do have crops that you could cut, acreage that could go into a cover crop rotation, markets that could be dropped. The complexity is there. The question is, can you eliminate it? Famous burger chain Five Guys started as one family restaurant in Arlington, Virginia. Jerry Merrill and his sons, they made burgers. They were great at it. The business grew, They franchised, and today there are over 1,000 Five Guy locations worldwide. But here's the part of the story that most people miss. Jerry didn't flip burgers at location number 500. At some point, he had to stop being the burgermeister and start being the business operator. He had to trust other people to make the product that he built his reputation on. He had to shift from, I make great burgers, to, I build the system that makes great burgers without me. That translation is where most small farms get stuck. You started this because you love growing food. You love being in the field. You're good at it. Your hands in the soil is the reason you wake up at 5:30 in the morning. And now you're asking to spend your morning in a spreadsheet scheduling employees instead of transplanting lettuce. It might feel like a demotion. It might feel like your soul is snatched from you and now you're just another bean counter. But it's actually a promotion. The farm doesn't need you to be the best grower when you grow. It needs you to be the person who makes sure great growing happens, whether you're in the field or not. Ask any marriage counselor what the number one source of conflict is. Money, money, money. Now take that and add a business. When a farm is small, financial decisions are small. Should we buy this nicer seed variety or the cheaper one? Should we do one market this week or two markets this week? These are $20 disagreements, $100 agreements. They're not huge decisions. When a business scales, when a farm scales, disagreements scale with it. Should we take on a mortgage for land? Should we hire a third employee? Should we invest $10,000 in a high tunnel we might not recoup the cost on for years to come? One partner can be the gas pedal. One partner is the brake. And I want to be clear. You really need both. A business with two gas pedals goes right off the cliff. A business with two brakes just sits broken down on the side of the road. It never moves or goes anywhere. It's that tension between risk and restraint that keeps a business alive. But when the stakes go up, the tension goes from productive to painful. The conversation stops being, should we spend $200 and starts becoming, are we going to lose money? The fix isn't to eliminate disagreement. It's to agree on the rules before the pressure hits. What's our maximum debt? What's our emergency fund target? How much do we reinvest before taking any money home? If you answer those questions in January, before the season starts, before the pressure kicks in, you don't have to fight about them in July. The bills come in, and there's so much to do in the field. 6 things: the labor trap, hire for value, not for volume. The founder bottleneck, learn to manage, not just to grow. Infrastructure debt, fix it now or pay double later. The complexity multiplier, more isn't harder, it's exponentially harder. The identity crisis, your farm needs a CEO more than it needs another field hand. None of these are farming problems. They're business problems that happen to show up on a farm. Chipotle had them, Starbucks had them, Five Guys had them. The restaurant down the street that just closed them. The difference between a business that survives scaling and the ones that don't usually isn't talent. It's whether they saw the cracks before the cracks grew big enough to allow the business to collapse. Now, take that and go build a farm business, not just a farm. I'm Diego, Diego. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit like, leave a comment, hit subscribe. And until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.